My name's Ryan Keller, and I used to love hiking more than anything else. I've climbed trails all over Colorado, but nothing ever compared to Maple Ridge Mountain, the one that nearly took my life. Locals called it the Echo Spine. They said the mountain could speak if you listened long enough. I used to laugh at that, until the day I went alone. It was early spring, cold enough that my breath hung in the air. I parked my old Jeep at the trailhead just before sunrise, grabbed my backpack, and started up the ridge. The forest around Maple Ridge looked peaceful, sunlight breaking through pines, snow melting in thin streams. But the higher I climbed, the quieter it became. By noon, the only sound was the crunch of my boots. No birds, no wind, just stillness. Then I heard the first whisper. It sounded like the mountain sighed. A low, drawn-out moan carried through the trees. I stopped, listening. Probably the wind, I told myself, but there wasn't any wind. The air was heavy, unmoving. I shook it off and kept climbing. The path twisted tighter near the summit, where dead trees leaned over the cliff edge. That's when I saw something strange carved into the rock. Dozens of names etched deep into the stone. Some were faded by time, but others looked fresh. One of them, so new it still had dust around the edges, read, Ryan Keller. I froze. My chest went cold. I hadn't carved that. No one even knew I was here. Then the whisper came again, closer. Ryan. I spun around. No one, just forest and fog. But the voice didn't stop. It came from all directions at once. Ryan, don't leave. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a root. My flashlight fell, the beam swinging across the ground. And for half a second, I saw a hand, gray, wrinkled, crawling out of the dirt. Then it was gone. I told myself I was imagining things, altitude, exhaustion, something. But when I turned to go back down, the trail was gone, completely gone. No footprints, no sign of the path, just trees. I started running, yelling for help. My voice echoed back, at first normally, then wrong. The echo came back slower, stretched, twisted, and then it spoke. Don't run, Ryan. My stomach dropped. It was my own voice, but it wasn't me. The forest began to darken even though the sun was still up. The sky turned gray, then almost black. I could barely see the ground. The trees bent inward, their branches tangling like claws. And then I saw her, a woman standing between the trees, dressed in torn hiking gear, her hair matted with dirt. She looked lost, shivering. I called out, "Hey, are you okay?" She turned slowly. Her eyes were gone, just hollow sockets, dripping with mud. "Help me," she whispered, her voice echoing in dozens of layers. "We're still here." Behind her, I saw shapes, figures of hikers, all twisted and gray, half buried in the mountainside. They stared silently as the woman stepped closer. I backed away, shaking. "What do you want?" Her mouth opened too wide, stretching into a cracked grin. The ground beneath me split. I fell, tumbling down the slope, hitting rocks, roots, anything. Everything went black. When I woke up, it was morning again. My body ached. I was lying beside my Jeep, parked at the trailhead. My clothes were torn, my hands bleeding. I looked up the mountain. It was calm, normal, like nothing had happened. I told the rangers I must have fallen and blacked out, but when they checked my GPS, they said I never went higher than 2 miles up. "You couldn't have reached those carvings," they said. "There's nothing like that up there," they said. I didn't argue, I just laughed. 2 weeks later, I was at home, cleaning mud from my hiking boots. When I flipped one over, I saw something carved into the sole. Tiny letters scratched into the rubber. "Welcome home, Ryan." That night, I woke to a faint sound, my own voice whispering through the open window. From somewhere far up the mountain, "Don't leave again." And the echo answered, "I won't." My name's Michael Dean, and I live in a small place called Birch Creek, Maine, a quiet logging town tucked between endless pine forests and the Atlantic wind. Around here, folks still heat their homes with firewood, and for years I made a decent living cutting and selling it. But one winter night, I went too deep into the forest, and what I brought back wasn't wood. It was the last week of December. Snow was coming down in thick sheets, and my supply of firewood had nearly run out. My wife, Sarah, begged me not to go out that night. "You can wait till morning," she said. But I told her it would only take an hour. So I loaded my axe and lantern into the truck and drove down Mill Creek Road, heading toward an area no one used anymore, the old Dover Woods. Locals said Dover Woods was cursed. Stories about strange lights, vanishing hunters, whispers under the snow. I never believed any of that, until that night. I parked by an old frozen stream and started chopping at a fallen pine. The air was so still I could hear the creak of the trees. My lantern flickered every few seconds, even though the fuel was full. That's when I noticed something carved into the tree trunk. A set of strange symbols, circular and twisted, almost like runes. I stepped closer, tracing one with my glove. It was still warm. I pulled my hand back fast. "What the hell?" I muttered. And then the forest whispered. Not the wind, a real voice. Soft, slow, like a woman's breath brushing against my ear. "Take it home." I spun around, swinging my lantern. No one, just white snow and dark trunks. I told myself I was tired, that it was the wind. But when I lifted my axe again, the tree started to bleed. A dark liquid oozed from the wood, thick and red against the snow. The smell hit me first, not sap, but something rotten, something alive. My lantern flickered again, and for a split second, I saw a face in the bark, eyes wide and sunken, a mouth twisted open like it was screaming. I stumbled back, dropped the axe, and fell into the snow. The whisper came again, closer now. "Take me home." I don't remember cutting any wood after that, but when I came to, my truck was loaded. The bed was full, not logs, but black, wet pieces that looked like charred timber. I didn't think, I just drove. When I got home, Sarah came outside to help unload. She frowned the moment she saw the pile. "Michael, these aren't pine. What did you bring?" I looked closer. The wood wasn't wood at all. It was brittle, gray, and smelled like burnt flesh. That's when one of the pieces shifted, just slightly, like something under the surface had moved. Sarah screamed. I dropped the lantern, shattering the glass, and in the light that spilled out, we both saw it. A human hand, blackened and stiff, buried among the logs. We ran inside and called the sheriff. But by the time they arrived, the pile was gone. Every single piece. The snow around the truck was melted, leaving nothing but dark stains in the dirt. The sheriff said I had imagined it, that I'd fallen asleep, maybe dreamed it. But Sarah stopped talking to me for a week. She wouldn't sleep in the same bed. I thought it was over, until the knocking started. 3 nights later, just past midnight, a steady, hollow thud on the front door. I opened it. Nothing. The next night, same thing, louder. On the 3rd night, I waited by the window with my rifle. The moment the knocking started, I swung the door open. There was something standing in the yard. It looked like a man, but its body was blackened and cracked, glowing faintly beneath the skin, like embers under ash. Its eyes burned dull red. Its jaw hung loose. It raised one hand and whispered in that same soft voice I'd heard in the woods, "Thank you for taking me home." I fired. The gunshot echoed through the trees, but when the smoke cleared, it was gone. The next morning, my axe was lying by the door. The blade was clean, but the handle was wrapped in something dry and gray, human skin. I burned the axe that night, buried the ashes deep behind the barn. But even now, when I light the fireplace, the flames sometimes burn dark, almost black, and when the wood cracks, it sounds like bones. Sarah left last spring, said the house smelled like death. And maybe she's right, because sometimes, in the middle of the night, I hear a voice whisper from the fireplace, "Michael, there's still room for one more." My name's Daniel Carter, and I've worked as a logger most of my life. My father was one before me, and his father before him. Cutting trees isn't just a job where I come from. It's a way of surviving in Red Hollow, Oregon, a town surrounded by more forest than people. About 3 years ago, something happened to me out there that I still can't explain. And if I could go back, I'd never have lifted my axe that morning. It was early November, the kind of morning where mist clings to your clothes and the air smells like rain and rot. My boss had told me about an old growth area up past Crow's Bend, a place no one had logged in decades. He said the company got new clearance to cut there. The job was simple: take down a few marked trees and come back before dark. But when I arrived, something felt wrong. The forest was too quiet. Not a bird, not a squirrel, just stillness, the kind that makes you hear your own heartbeat. The first few trees went down easy. My chainsaw roared through pine and spruce like always. But then I came to one tree that wasn't marked, an enormous thing, wider than my truck, with bark as black as coal. It looked ancient. Its roots twisted out of the earth like a nest of snakes, and the air around it felt colder, like the temperature dropped 10 degrees. I should have ignored it, but I didn't. I told myself I could take it down for extra pay. Nobody would notice. When my chainsaw touched its bark, the motor sputtered and died. I tried again, same thing, no spark. Then I noticed something that made my stomach turn. The bark was wet. Not with sap, it was dark red. I backed away, thinking maybe I'd nicked a deer or something nearby. But when I wiped the blade of my saw, that same red stuck to my gloves, thick and warm like blood. I dropped everything, and that's when I heard it. "Daniel." It was soft, whispered, like wind through leaves, but it said my name. I froze. "Who's there?" I shouted. Nothing, just mist rolling through the trees. I looked around, no one, not a footprint but my own. Then I saw something move inside the bark, like veins. The tree's surface seemed to pulse, almost like it was breathing. I stepped closer, stupidly, and placed my hand on the trunk. The moment my skin touched it, I heard screams. Hundreds of them, men, women, crying, begging. They echoed inside my head until I stumbled back, clutching my ears. I ran to my truck and tried to start it. Nothing. Dead. Every time I turned the key, the battery clicked but didn't turn over. Then, out of nowhere, my radio came on. A voice, my voice, came through the static. "Don't leave yet, Daniel. You're part of the forest now." I tore the radio out of the dash, threw it onto the ground. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely breathe. The fog thickened until I could barely see the hood of my truck, and in that fog, shapes began to form. Human shapes. Men in old logging clothes, their faces half rotted, their eyes hollow. They stood among the trees, watching me. One of them, tall, missing half his jaw, stepped forward. "You shouldn't have cut it," he rasped. "It's not wood, it's us." I screamed and ran, crashing through brush, following what I thought was the road. But the more I ran, the deeper the forest became. It felt endless. I don't remember how I got out. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in my truck, engine running, saw on the passenger seat. The forest was quiet again. Too quiet. When I got back to Red Hollow, my boss said no one had clearance to cut near Crow's Bend, said that land was protected since the 1950s because of accidents that happened there, whole crews disappearing. I quit the logging company that same week, haven't stepped foot in those woods again. But sometimes, at night, I still hear the chainsaw start up by itself in my shed. And when I look at my gloves, even after all this time, there's still red in the seams.
Don't forget to subscribe for more scary stories. Thank you for watching.